What are signs that someone is secretly unhappy? Constantly feeling tired, not talking a lot, looks like they're trying to concentrate on themselves or on something, and everything else seems to be annoying. Short fuse towards loved ones. No attention to themselves, how they look, how they're dressed, what they're eating. Eyes, like they are shutting down. So, what should someone do if they're feeling these symptoms? Asking for a friend? Story 2. Regression, isolation, short fuse around loved ones, always tired or not feeling well when asked to do something, boredom from things they used to entertain. There are lots of signs. I've been depressed for a while now and I've been reluctant to talk to a psychologist, so I'm not the best guy to dish out advice. It might be time to seek help if you're doing the things listed above or developing habits you think aren't healthy. You don't even need to talk to a psychologist or a therapist to get over some of these things if they're just starting to feel them. Confiding in a close friend or a family member could steer you straight. If you've been feeling like this for a while, though, you're like me, and it's time to get real help. This post alone is forcing me to rethink going to therapy and might make a call tomorrow. Story 3. They're tired all the time. Say they're fine or okay with no elaboration when you ask. Sigh a lot, space out a lot, seem distracted, don't seem to enjoy anything. I'm not saying everyone who does this has clinical depression. If you feel that you might have a problem, talk to a professional. I wrote this list based on how I act at work. I have severe depression, ADHD, and complex PTSD. I know that all this can spring from any of those, something else, or it can be nothing except normal boredom or detachment. I hope you all feel better. Sucks that so many people are so down on themselves. Story 4. They make jokes a lot. They laugh a lot and they say, "I'm fine. I'm always fine." They've given up on their own happiness, so they just care about making other people happy. Then maybe they fall in love and they are happy, but that doesn't fix the pain. They themselves are the only people that can fix it, but they don't know that yet. So that pain just faded but never went away, until it rears its ugly head and makes the person bitter and resentful of their partner's happiness. Meanwhile, they're drowning in their depression. But they can't ask for help. They can't show that they need it, that they're not who everyone thinks they are. They believe to their core that they don't deserve help, until they end up becoming everything they hate and dumping their partner out of their lives, maybe over the slightest thing. Maybe. Or maybe because they feel deep down they're better off alone and in pain and their partner shouldn't be. Until they realize how much more they just ruin their own life by being such a schmuck, by doing everything they're not, that it was their fault and on them. And they realize all this time they were climbing the ladder. Now they're about to slide down into a spiral, unless they change. Story 5. It took me a very long time to realize that anger is one of my first responses to depression. I feel like we imagine those gray blobs from the commercials that are listless and distracted and sad, but for me, unchecked depression expressed as anger. I can't believe the stupidity around me. I give no one the benefit of the doubt. I assume everything is a slight and preemptively expect slights. As you can imagine, it's utterly exhausting and terrible to be around. Then I lost enough friends, realized I needed to change, got therapy out of my own choice for the first time, forced into it as a kid many times, changed my responses to things, got a medication, and now it takes a lot to get me angry. A lot. Story 6. Being overly cheery because they forgot how to feel happy, so they try to imitate it to prevent people from worrying. Their private time is spent looking for ways to correct their problems because they are sure it would lead to happiness. Thus, they don't seem to have done anything all day and probably forgot your birthday. Correcting people they believe are part of the problem. Overly critically and softly. Softly because they believe that what makes them sad would get worse if people took them the wrong way, and something they believe will make them feel better if done right. One or two people have a problem with them because they believe they're being unreasonable, and that there is no middle ground that either are willing to step into for the sake of solving problems, so they lose company. This scares friends away who already have struggles or usually comes to them for respite. They post fewer personal messages in their social media because they feel it would start a blame game no matter what they put. It looks like an accusation, so they don't post anything. For friends who sympathize, they put on a brave face as they don't want their problems to ruin things between the people they're arguing with, so they might downplay situations or pretend they aren't true. But for some reason, they need your company, even though they don't talk about their issues. Their problems have all kinds of barriers, but it seems no one has gone out to disprove any of them, as they believe the person to be telling the truth, or have to assume that person is telling the truth, because unraveling a lie would get to the same truth you get all the time, that they've given up but don't want to show it. Story 7. I get tired of hearing the media run adverts about helping people with depression say, "Tell someone, reach out." I told my job counselor I was planning to end it all, and the date, she just looked at me, carried on typing, and talked about a job interview. It was like I hadn't spoken. I wonder how many other people don't reach out because there's no point. No, I'm still planning. Not to be morbid, but I don't want to traumatize another person finding me. Coming up with a way so it's obvious I'm gone, but there's nothing to be found. Also doesn't saddle my family with a funeral they can't afford. It's a lot harder thinking of it in practical terms. Trying to figure out a foolproof plan is the only thing keeping me alive at the moment. Sorry, gallows humor. Story 8. I get so angry. Everyone is stupid and wrong and loud. They never stop being loud. Why are you smacking, you idiot? Then comes sadness. My ever so short fuse doesn't ignite and I burst into tears. When I'm done, it feels like a reprieve and I'll be okay now. But I never am. Then my anxiety acts up. I know mom is disappointed. She hates what I'm doing with my life. I do things that I stop doing because they're unhealthy. Lying, cheating, stealing, yelling, screaming. So much worse. I want to drink. I'm only 18. Why do I feel the itch of something I've never tasted? I stopped writing. I receded into music. I don't seek out my friends and I'm always tired. I don't feel good. My headaches are back. I don't call them migraines because then people will know how much it hurts. I'm always hungry, but every food I eat is disgusting, putrid, boring, nauseous. I can't focus. Why can't I focus? I miss school, but thinking about going back makes me sick to my stomach. I teach kids, but I hate kids. I love kids. There's nothing meaningful in my life anymore. I burned it all down. At work, I'm quiet. My ex asks me what's wrong. I don't want to talk to him. He lied to me. He's an idiot. I hate him. I hate everyone. I love everyone. Why do I talk badly about people I love? They aren't bad people. They're just making mistakes. Lazy, stupid, hypocritical. Shut up. Feels like my head is screaming. My heart is twisting. My gut is wrenching. My throat is tightening. Just want to be happy. I was happy 6 months ago. I changed. I try so hard to be happy for everyone because they'll get mad if I'm not happy. Mom always told me, fake it till you make it. I hate that, but she was half right. Fake it because I've always been fake. Story 9. I feel like this might sound like a cliche, but getting worse at a game they were really good at, which kind of depresses them more. I have this friend who loves Mario Kart. He's basically a god at it. We used to play a lot, and we still do. He knows every shortcut, how much he has to tilt the stick for every turn, etc. But one time I noticed I had been winning for quite a while. I thought he might be giving me this chance to win, but he actually wasn't. It seemed that for every race we had, he just put all of his effort in and got no result. Turns out he was having a very rough month, and it impacted the way he was playing. The only thing I could do was just try to cheer him up and suggest other challenges that might distract him. By the way, he's now back in the business. I was missing my silver Mario Kart trophy. Sounds like he needed a blue shell moment to wake him up and realize he still had it in him. Story 10. Technical throwaway time. I've been with my fiancée for 3 years. I'm honestly unhappy but can't leave since we live together and are renting an apartment. I don't want to break a lease since I want to get a place of my own and live on my own. I'm not happy because I'm constantly asked questions like, where were you? What did you do today? It sounds like normal. However, it comes off in the sense that I'm in the wrong for going to spend time with my mother or other family. She's constantly worried that I'm unfaithful, that it's an annoyance. Because of this, I don't have friends, and every time I get a text, she has to know who it is and what they were saying. We've talked about it in the past, and no change. Don't get me wrong, I'm no saint either, but I am faithful. The signs are simple. What or huh? Constantly after a statement, question, or anything your significant other says because they weren't listening or weren't interested anyways. They want to be left alone to do things they enjoy. Mine is gaming on my computer. They'll show affection in their own time they want it. This can be null, however, if the person doesn't enjoy showing affection all the time anyways. Me. These are 3 small things that I display myself. I don't mean to, it's just things that are shown without realizing it. I should take my own advice, but I have an eptophobia, so yeah, there's that. Story 11. Them joking about dark crap going on in their life. I know for myself, but at times I wasn't okay. If me and my friends were chatting for hours and the topic of the talk had come to our problems, I would tell the cause of depression, anxiety, unhappiness, stress, etc. in just a sense while smiling as if it was funny and in a jokey way. They never got the message, so in case there are people out there like me, if someone is telling you something that sounds dark but they're laughing or talking really shortly about it, please stop them and ask them to talk more about the topic to make them feel like they can open up to you. Story 12. They stay up all night doing everything on the internet, and then are tired all day. They got nothing done at work and come home tired. They don't want to talk. They're irritable. They don't decide to do anything fun and have to be dragged into it. They may cry at things that are normally thought of as happy. They spend ages in the loo, mostly just sitting doing nothing. They make a lot of sarcastic or pessimistic remarks. Nothing is ever good enough. They neglect personal hygiene, forgetting to brush teeth or wash. They drink a lot and get into rages when intoxicated. They may begin to lose hair or to show signs of scratching at a spot in their skin. I had a team leader who scratched his head. He was under so much stress. Maybe they have a lot of games they bought, but they don't try them, or they try them for 5 minutes and then never again. Sticking to one old favorite, and then they get terminated in that game. They fling the controller or mouse down and rage quit. Story 13. My boyfriend loves music. Deeply. For 5 years, I've supported him in his music as a vocalist, drummer, and guitarist. His passion for metal music is genuine, and he loves it so much. I swear you could never take that away from him, especially Christian metal. It helps him feel closer to God. Over a year ago, he started a job working in an office building where he sat at a desk and worked on a computer, which he told me since he was 18, he never wanted to give up his dream for music to work behind a desk. Now we're living together, and he gets up at 5 a.m. every morning and gets home at 5 p.m. I swear I see the light in his eyes pass away a little more each day, and it breaks my heart. He's not happy. He's miserable and he's depressed. I love him dearly. He's my best friend. That's the unhappy I see every day that hurts me inside. Story 14. I am one of those people. And in my experience, I end up overthinking situations a lot and get annoyed at every little thing, especially when I'm trying to concentrate on something for a moment. I also constantly feel tired, and sometimes I get into this headspace where I get really insecure and analyze every single flaw I have, which makes me feel like utter crap and that I'll never get better. Like when one of my friends will say something like, "My other friend always throws a pity party for himself every single day, and it's annoying because he has it so much easier than any of us." I nod and agree on the outside because I've seen other friends get like that, but in my mind, I keep hearing, "You're such a hypocrite because you do the same thing, but to a lesser extent. Stupid." And my brain makes a relatively small flaw, such as that one that seems worse than it is. They all reached a high point when I was about 10 and then subsided for a few years, but came to rear its head again my freshman year of high school. It's a constant struggle to put those thoughts and feelings to one side, but I'm getting better slowly but surely. Story 15. They tend to stay in bad situations much longer than a well-adjusted person would, which leads other people to believe they're at least somewhat content. They might hate their job or their spouse or their weight or their life in general, but depression is mentally exhausting, and even thinking about taking steps toward getting out of that situation is daunting, especially when you can just stay on autopilot in your current circumstances. And when you can finally muster the mental motivation to act, then you realize how physically exhausted you are. And if it's that overwhelming to try to get rid of whatever makes you unhappy, sometimes you just stop trying to be happy at all. You stop trying to feel anything and let the apathy drive for a while. Story 16. I can't speak for anybody other than myself, and I don't know why I'm writing this, but the way that you can probably see that I'm unhappy is that I am funny, quick-witted, I lightly pick on people, joke about anything and everything, even the touchy, dark stuff. To be honest, I've done it for so long I feel it's just my personality now. That's me. I cannot get attached to people easily or at all, even though I want to. I don't value people or friendships. I push all those that care for me away. Personally, even with the responsibilities the next day, I get out of my way for people at any time, even knowing that I'm going to come out losing, because I feel they need a helping friend. When I come out losing, I feel that I deserve that as a punishment because I feel I'm a bad person. I like helping because it makes me feel a little good inside. But I know I help out to feel good inside, so it's my selfish reason. Just like posting this so people can tell me I'm okay and not selfish. To be honest, I truly think of ending myself every day. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I have a certain feeling that I will someday finish what I failed to do when I was 15. Maybe when I'm not a coward anymore. I truly hate myself and my life. Story 17. There is a whole other faction of people who are secretly unhappy that act very happy all the time. All smiles and jokes and fun. Most people have some sad or downtime, no matter what situation you usually see them in. Even the most outgoing people want to be left alone sometimes, naturally. I think healthier people can express it. The people who always act one way when you see them, say always overly happy at work, are the ones I worry about. They force out all the happy gestures there and go home and feel terrible. It just seems unbalanced. I know people are on different ends of different spectrums, but in a real way, we're all quite similar. People who seem incredibly far in one direction in public often make up for it in private. Story 18. This one hits home. I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I've tried ending myself twice. It all started ever since my grandpa passed away. Nothing has ever been the same. I bottled up my feelings and was just so quiet. I didn't want to do anything. I laid in bed during my breaks off of college. When classes were in session, I would go sit in a corner, listen, and then leave right after. When people approached me to say hi, I put a quick smile and asked a few questions. I tried to get out as quickly as possible. I would come home hungry, but would just go straight to bed. I just did not have any energy in me to do anything. At 19 years old, my weight stayed stable at 119. Every time I went to the doctor, it was the same for 4 years prior. People genuinely think I just finished high school, but I'm actually in sophomore year of college. My dad yelled at me constantly to get up and help out in the house because when he was my age, he was helping out. It would all go through one ear, then out the other. I became incredibly skinny also. My little sister could wrap her hand and touch fingers to her palm to hold my wrist. Everyone I knew noticed the weight loss. January 21, 2020, I committed to joining a gym. I got a few protein powders and chicken. My eating habits were absolute trash, so it was hard eating even a slightly filled plate. After the second day, my life has been so much more better. I noticed recently that my forearms are getting slightly stronger physically and visually. I can't tell you how happy that made me. Such a small detail, but never been so happy in so long. If anyone is in a similar place, I highly recommend you join a gym. P.S. I'm currently at 124 pounds. Story 19. Always tired. Hobbies are ignored. Plans are made, then regularly broken unless it's dire. Answers are always, I don't know, or it's up to you. They're short-tempered with people they're usually friends with. If they're the first to say something, it's in a whisper because my thoughts don't matter anyway, right? Excessive weight gain or loss, drinking more than normal, sudden substance use, being reclusive and isolating themselves, then taking up a storm and forced out of their hidey hole. Just go back to being reclusive. Constantly worrying they're bothering others with the things they say and do. Constantly worrying they aren't doing things correctly or ruining everything. And finally, the cold eyes. The color just fades from your eyes when you're miserable but can't say anything. Story 20. A long, slow distancing of themselves from social life, family life, and activities into isolation, often accomplished through excuses of one form or another that are almost always extremely valid to the unhappy person. If the time period is long enough, social support networks might eventually drop away and even family members may begin to distance themselves or give up altogether. Self-deprecating humor or sarcasm, used as a self-defense mechanism if the person is in a social setting and feels uncomfortable, a painstakingly constructed fortress surrounding the emotional core of the person, so that intimate knowledge of their true self is extremely difficult to come by. They might keep others at arm's length with regard to personal information, so that people are limited to vague ideas about them, at best. And this way, no one can get close enough to form attachments and potentially hurt the person. And the person maintains the isolation state that fuels the depressive spiral. Depression is a terrible affliction that can cripple people and ruin their lives, and often sends ripple effects well beyond the life of a sufferer and through multiple generations, as well as across communities. Maybe that is over the line of a description of unhappy, but everyone has individual qualifications. Depression equals unhappy. Story 21. They stop caring. They just smile and do whatever they're told with a joke or smile, even if it's a terrible thing. They let others lead their life and don't make their own decisions. They don't know. When you ask them a favorite or something, they might go, I don't know. If they're in a class where they're given no assignments and are free to do anything, they will probably do nothing but smile. And people might think of this as laziness. It's not. It's that they literally don't know what to do with their life. And combined with them not caring, they just smile as they do nothing. The only thing they may care about is making others happy. This is just what I think. Doesn't necessarily mean you're fake happy. Probably doesn't make sense anyway. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 22. Memory begins to fail. I've legit been face to face with others and I'm instantly forgetting what they just told me. I can't recall what they said 10 seconds ago. And as everyone else has also stated, hostility, short fuse, dark jokes, introverted, and lack of hobbies. There are many things I used to love doing. Now, if I try, I have almost no tolerance or patience and find myself stressing over something that used to relieve stress. Now, though, I recognize it's almost instantly as I've been there myself and I'm first to pull them aside and ask if they're truly okay and need to talk. It's honestly probably one of the worst feelings when you need to vent and have no one to talk to. Joking aside, it's indirectly very similar to being constipated. You slowly feel worse and worse, refuse to take on anything new, don't care to do anything, and you'll do damn near anything to make it move. That said, though, your friends are normally there for you. It seems like that attitude or depression detection for some is a gift, as a lot seem to lack it. Fortunately for them, they probably haven't been there themselves to completely understand it. Being depressed and knowing what that's like, I will absolutely drop whatever I'm doing to sit next to you if that's all you want. Don't even have to talk. Really though, reach out to your friends. Sometimes they're not good at talking either and could use the company. Getting over it is another story, though. Story 23. Forcing social media posts to all about a fantastic life, the fake kind. This is hard to distinguish from truly happy people posting about stuff that excites them, but I always feel that if there is a focused effort of trying to paint an idyllic life rather than sharing your excitement, then it's fake. More often than not, those are some very unhappy people. I know because I used to do this when I was single. My Insta life rocked, ate the best dishes, had a friends packed social life, and traveled. I was miserable, and when I would meet friends that were followers, they would assume my life was awesome, yet felt like crap. Story 24. Reading through the responses, I agree with many others here and thought I'd give my perspective. I lost my job through no fault of my own due to mass cutbacks a week ago. Even though I have severance and likely be fine financially, I plan to retire from that company someday. And with that now being close to me, I found it has impacted me much harder than I've been willing to admit to people who know me in real life. In the last week since being shown the door, my motivation to do really anything has just gone out the window. I don't want to be awake in the mornings, and here it is, almost 3 a.m., and I don't have the drive to get up and go into my room to go to bed. This will be maybe the 5th time in the last week that I've been up past 3 a.m. I'm working on my master's degree and I'm watching assignments age. No matter how much I want to get them done and get a good grade, I just can't seem to sit down and work on them. I don't laugh when my kids make jokes, and I don't really want to be around my wife. It doesn't help that she seems depressed and maybe even resentful about the whole affair, too. In fact, the only laughter I really give right now is after my own jokes about not having crap to do tomorrow or how there's no work tomorrow. Those sorts of I'm out of a job jokes that are really angering her off. But I don't seem to care. I've never been a heavy drinker, typically 1 to 2 drinks a month, but I've had 2 bottles of wine and several whiskey drinks in the last week. I find this interesting as it's sort of new self-distrust, a behavior I've never exhibited before, and despite recognizing it, I don't feel any motivation to stop it. Scariest of all was earlier today. I'm not depressed and haven't been thinking about ending it all or anything, but I had a momentary dizzy spell after standing up too fast. I found that a part of me was scarily hopeful that it would turn out to be a stroke or something. Then I wouldn't have to deal with this. And my life insurance, which is substantial, is still active through the end of my severance, so it would mean a really strong windfall for my family. I've also noticed other smaller issues. I've gone from showering nearly every day to every few days, and I find that I just get up and eat randomly and often. I think I've had at least 3 meals that could have been dinner tonight alone, not to mention several trips into the kitchen for snacks. Story 25. Sacrificing one's own happiness for the happiness of everyone around them. I live by this religiously, and honestly, kinda helps. I have a purpose, you know? The funny guy. The dude who has the answers to that one test. Hey, you heard that story Voltaire was telling us? Hey, if you want to have a good time, let Voltaire trips at you. The guy you can vent to, the friend that everyone knows but no one really gives a significant crap about, and other such things. My thinking is that if I'm not going to be happy, then I have no right to bring others down with my melodramatic BS. After a certain point, it starts to hurt, but after an even longer amount of time, you're just an apathetic piece of yourself, where I'm not depressed because people would be sad, but I wouldn't try and stop myself from passing away. When people joke about letting that train hit them, I honestly go and understand that feeling 100%. At this point, I'm just hoping that I don't fall into like a depression, because from what I've heard and seen, it seems about 1,000% worse than this. Story 26. There seem to be a lot of comments around the apathy many people display. In my experience, that hasn't been the case. Not to say that people can't experience slow moments like this, but it's not what I've seen personally. When I was somewhere around 10, a very close family friend ended it all. It was low for a very long time, though it wasn't something I could probably identify at the time. One thing I remember is that his house, although beautiful, always had this heavy feeling. He always smiled, was very polite and friendly, but there was something off. I'm now 26, and a few friends and relatives have sadly taken their own lives due to deep depression. One thing that I've noticed is that none of them seem to have the meh approach to life. Rather, they talk about ending it all so nonchalantly that it's somewhat disturbing. That is, when they pop up, which is rare. Everyone I've known seems to go from delusional optimism to embracing the darkness entirely within the space of a conversation. Like it's an act that they aren't entirely keeping up. When I've spotted it, I've tried to help. It's one of those things that runs so deep within someone that it's hard to dig out, though. If anyone else has had friends or family take their own lives, it's not your fault. Even if you didn't spot it, if you think there's something more you could have done, don't beat yourself up. It's really hard trying to help someone out of that hole, and often the outcome can still be the same. Try and help people, 100%. But don't ever blame yourself if it doesn't work out. And if you are in this position, please accept the help. There are so many people out there who want to see you living a healthy, happy life. That is achievable for you. It's not easy, and the road will be long, but you can get there. You've got that strength. I believe in you. Story 27. They start sleeping more than usual. They start staying up later than usual. Their laundry starts to pile up while their room or house progressively gets dirtier and more poorly kept. They start neglecting personal hygiene, showering and brushing their teeth less than usual. On the weekends or their days off, they just stay in bed all day when usually they would get up. They start isolating themselves, spending less time in common areas and more time in their room, as well as hanging out with friends less often. Their appetite changes. They eat less or they eat more junk food than normal. They call in sick to work more often. They stop engaging in their usual hobbies. They're more irritable and snappy. They mention feeling tired or unwell a lot. They become more forgetful than usual, are more easily distracted and less focused. Maybe they're just in a bit of a funk. We all have those days, right? Story 28. They become a people pleaser, so they don't think that people will hate them. This can cause people to give away so much to others with little to nothing in return. They'll give up their time to always listen to you and try to make you feel better. It is alright to be a good person and listen to people or be nice, except sometimes unhappy people will go overboard. They also always pretend to be happy so they don't bring the mood down. They do their best to not get into people's way. They usually act like that so people won't see the true side of them. They'll usually say things like, "I'm fine" or "I'm just tired." For me, at least, I tend to make people feel good and not take care of myself because I think that other people's lives are more important than mine. It is important to take care of yourself and others. It's okay if you can't be perfect for friends or family. It is also okay to talk about anything that makes you unhappy. Your life is just as important as anyone else's. Please take some time to love yourself for who you are. It may be difficult at times. That's why you have friends, family, or significant others to help you and listen. You are a wonderful person and your life matters. There will always be rough patches ahead, but I believe in you that you can get through it. Story 29. I think everyone acts differently. My sign is I stop engaging with friends or family as often. If people come over to hang out, I will, but I won't reach out and often don't respond to texts. Sometimes won't respond for a couple days. Most people would never know when I'm sad or depressed, and when I do this, they think I'm just ignoring them or don't want to talk to them. But that isn't really it. I don't like showing emotions and hate people feeling sorry for me. I've had people tell me I always look so happy and I'm always smiling, even when I'm going through periods of bad depression. Honestly, I probably smile more, just as a subconscious cover. The only one who can really tell is my mom. How she can tell, I don't know, but she spots it every time. Even my exes couldn't tell when I was depressed. I've had depression, bad at times, for like 10 years now, since I was 16, but I've grown really good at hiding it. Why do I feel the need to hide it? I don't know, really. Kind of feel ashamed by it, but not really sure. Story 30. Honestly, I am secretly unhappy. Same with my close friend. We know a few signs, especially the stare. I didn't realize it until now, but I have realized that is a sign. The stare is when somebody stares at you with a straight face, looking very serious, and they just do it for around 30 seconds or longer. This isn't just when your eyes lock on something random for a minute or so. This is on a person, not a different object. Sometimes it seems scary, but it's fine. Both me and my friend do that. Another thing I do is I don't laugh with my friends as much. Earlier today, my friends were being really funny, and secretly on the inside, I wanted to laugh. But my own body wouldn't let me for some weird reason. That is the same with my close friend, and I consider that some sort of sign. One more thing I've done is that if I think about something sad, for example, a dog suffering, then my stomach will start hurting. I don't know, just something about me being a little depressed and sad. Story 31. This is from my own experience, but I've noticed that I always listen to music to fill in the empty gaps of my life that are either completely meaningless or just too boring. So basically, my life is at a point of boring where I need to make it entertaining by listening to music. And since I'm not socializing with others a lot and my ears are covered by my headphones all the time, that whenever someone says something slightly rude or it just stings me a little, I break down. Same goes if there's too much noise around me or I realize how boring life is when I'm not listening to music. I also always look tired and emotionless all the time, causing people to distance themselves from me and think I'm intimidating when in reality, I'm on the verge of breaking down and crying. Story 32. For me personally, I was on the verge of ending it all for years. No one knew. People at my college, when I would open up about my thoughts, would say, "That's not funny, Dormerick. You aren't depressed." I thought this was because my exterior seemed perfect. Happy, funny, weird, and passionate. That said to folks, I was fine when I really was ignoring my issues and trying to just be normal. I wouldn't open up again after that reaction for years after that. So my advice is, Pay attention to their outbursts or times they break down, small things that seem out of character. If they break down or start freaking out over something that seems small to you, be persistent in checking in with them. Don't forget about your friend, because I would freak out if I lost a game of multiplayer Halo, mainly because I didn't have control in my own life. The one thing I thought I could control, I couldn't. Freaked out. Some of my friends were like, "Oh, old Armoric is just like that, hates to lose." Continue to walk life with your friend and continue to check in. Everyone is different, but having my close friends continue to be my friends and check in saved my life. You won't be able to solve their problems. You won't be able to make them happy if they're unhappy. But if you walk life with them and continue to be around them and care for them, you might save their life without you even knowing. Maybe it isn't that serious. Just thought I'd share. Hope all is good. Story 33. These are my signs of sadness, but they may be someone else's as well. Maybe I'll help someone else out there. I get angry. That is the first sign of me being sad. I try to block off everyone to make sure that I don't get hurt. I act angry. I'm easily annoyed. The reason for this is that I feel that everyone I cared about left me, so I try not to care. I cry at the smallest, stupidest things. And I know it seems petty, and the first thing that comes to people's heads is, she's such a baby. But if I do this, it probably means that I've been feeling sad for the past few weeks. Try to go comfort people if you see them crying, even if you were just there patting their back and not saying anything. Just let them know you're there for them. I daydream a lot. I eat very unhealthy foods in large amounts. I share, though. This isn't really related to the question, but I also hate being second choice. It makes me sound like a spoiled kid, but I'm always the one abandoned and left behind. If you lined up everyone, I would get chosen last. Every time. No one wants me. The other day, everyone got into a debate and not to have me. This wasn't even PE or something. This was science. I felt horrible and unwanted. In the end, I just sat there, didn't contribute, and cried. Story 34. Binge drinking. Avoiding people or gatherings when they used to enjoy it. Isolation, complaints, talk of getting out. My husband and I were super close with the couple, and the husband started to display all these behaviors. His wife was suddenly traveling, leaving early or busy. Turns out she had become polyamorous. Not how it works, but okay. And had been sleeping with other men behind his back for a year, but played it off as being poly. When she finally told us, she said they were both poly. We didn't buy it. Based on how unhappy the husband was and said we couldn't stay friends with her because she was so toxic. Many other things than just the poly thing, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. They got so mad and defensive, and we ended up cutting ties with them as well. It was one of the hardest things I've had to do, but my husband and I have been much better off without them. Last year, we found out they got a divorce, and the husband reached out to my husband to try to reconcile. He stopped caring about us now that we have a kid, but still. He got mad at me because at the time I pointed out all his behaviors that were signaling depression or unhappiness or discontent, and he got so angry. Story 35. I went through what I think was a depression last year, a solid 4 to 6 months where I had pretty much no friends and I was unhappy with my schoolwork, etc. What stuck out to me is that normally I'm a pretty emotional person. When things go wrong, I cry it out and I feel better afterwards. When I was going through this, I remember noticing that I didn't cry at all, even when I sort of wanted to. Something would go wrong and sometimes I'd feel angry and sometimes I'd panic, but usually I just wanted to go to sleep. I also remember calling home a lot less often than normal and being frustrated that no one was around to be there with me, but always choosing to be alone in my room with the door closed anyway. Life is much, much better now. I've talked to counselors and I'm making more than an effort to be social, and I'm happier for it, but mostly I remember feeling like my emotions were muted and being surprised at how lonely that felt. Story 36. I've never really thought of myself as having depression, but all these examples ring true to me. I've moved around quite a bit and have never had trouble finding a group of friends. I used to be super social and hardly spent time at home. I was very interested in photography and exploring. Over the last 2 years, I've kind of felt empty. I don't feel like I have any more interests. I don't have any new friends in the places I've recently moved to, and I don't feel friendly, if that makes sense. I make short general conversations with my coworkers, and I just find it so hard to relate to anyone. Some days are better than others, but this week in general, I kind of just feel down. My boyfriend sees that I get upset and isn't sure what to do. He always wants me to try and talk, but physically words don't come out. Once I get over that overwhelming feeling, I just try and move on and change the subject. I feel like I've lost sight of what truly makes me happy without even realizing it. I don't expect much response here, but writing this out has actually made me feel a bit better. However, I know that's only temporary. Story 37. In my case, when I was struggling with my own mental health a few years ago, I didn't want my family or friends to worry, so I hid the negative feelings with jokes and a bright smile whenever anyone was looking. I think the biggest sign of a secretly unhappy person is a dissonance between what persona they wear on the outside and how they live when they're alone. When I was sick, I helped my friends through moving and struggling with settling by organizing and cleaning everything, and I was laughing and happy all the time with them. My own home was a horrible mess, and I could barely drag myself out of the bed in the mornings. Story 38. I see that a lot of people are saying that they lose their glow, but I've seen many cases where it's just the opposite. I myself being one of them. They actually put themselves in an almost too happy state. They make jokes, and they seem fine, but if you're close with them, you can tell that they aren't the same. Their jokes are darker, and you can tell that there's something else behind them. Not everyone has that, I'm fine attitude. One of my closest friends, whom I've come to find out was deep into the pits of self harm, was the happiest person you'd ever meet. She was happy and smiled at everyone in the halls. She was the person who made your day. Even through all of her struggles, she kept that mask up, and no one knew about what she was going through. I would catch her every now and then with this empty glare, and when I asked her if she was okay, she would just reply happily, "Yep, I'm doing great." I just zoned out for a bit. The only time I actually noticed a big change in her was when she stopped wearing makeup and the jokes she made were dark and she made depression jokes, which was normal for my friend group, but not for her. She was heavily Christian and she suddenly changed her views on things. Anybody can be secretly sad. You just have to pay attention. Even the happiest fall victim. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.